welcome to part 2 of this video series. Today I'm going to continue my discussion on methodological guide when conducting industry versus academic research. So if you have been following me, you would have seen my other videos on this topic, like this one, which was the part 1 of this video series. There are other videos that I have also done, like how to find industry research problems, what is industry focused research, why is industry research relevant, how to approach industry partners. And this has been a very popular video because I cover a lot of my research, my experience on how I connected with industry partners and raised millions of dollars for my research. If you follow me on my social media platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, you will regularly get the updated videos that I'm doing in this month of March. Every day there'll be a new video, live webinar coming up on various topics related to research. So do follow me on all these channels. And let's continue with this session on methodological guide for industry and academic research. So in the first part of this video, I spoke about 6 topics. Today, and in this video, I'm going to start with the 7th one. So the 7th factor that you should consider when doing industry or academic research is to consider the impact of scope and scale on methodological choices. So let's see what I mean by that. So when we are doing industry-focused research, it is targeted and scoped to address specific business question or business problem, which can lead to a very narrower focused compared to some academic research. So, and industry research could be very to the point, very small. The scope could be very limited, but they want a very detailed and thorough research output, research result from that. So that is one thing to consider. Projects can be scaled or may be scaled to fit with operational, budgetary, and time constraints, which sometimes leads to more iterative or phased approaches. So here your methodology should be flexible enough to accept these changes or constraints. So suddenly, if the industry says that, oh, we need to cut down our budget, you need to be able to think, oh, what could I do now? I had budgeted X amount of dollars for doing this part of my research. Suddenly the budget is slashed. What can I do? So you have to be innovative. You have to be agile to tweak your methodology and try to still get the same results as close as possible. It will not exactly be the same because the research effort would be reduced substantially if the budget is cut. But you have to be flexible enough, you have to be innovative and creative to come up with some ways so that you can still give reasonably good output for your partner. Other constraints could be time constraints. If the project was supposed to be planned for, say, 6 months, right? And if there is a new government announcement or a new regulation that comes in, and suddenly the priority for this research becomes very high. So the company would say that, oh, we cannot wait 6 months now. The regulation is out. We need to finish this in 2 months. So you have to be flexible in that way as well. So resources you have, budget you have, but time you don't have. So always there is this time, budget, and quality, the triangle. You have to always be flexible and managing that very effectively when doing industry-based research. So what I'm trying to say here is you need to be creative. You need to be very agile in how you deal or how you manage industry projects. Whereas academic research, like we typically do, can afford to be broader in scope or could be exploratory, right? Seeking to address fundamental questions or theories. The restrictions here are, or the constraints here are not that strict. So if you have decided on a methodology that you want to use, you have the time to actually make it work. For example, if you're in your PhD proposal, you have proposed that you would be doing qualitative interviews, right? So you have time to conduct interviews thoroughly. You can follow your timeline, your proposed timeline that you have presented during your proposal. You can follow that. There would not be a sudden cut or some kind of change to your plan, right? So the plan is more or less stable. You don't need to be too flexible in terms of the plan. So if you have proposed that in the first 6 months I will do literature review, you can use the 6 months doing literature review. Your supervisor or the university is not going to say, no, cut it down to 3 months. That kind of challenges you will not face while doing academic research. So methodologically, if you think about how you're going to pursue your research, you have that freedom, you have that time and budget to execute it that way. Whereas in industry, you have to have that as it could suddenly change. Academic projects may scale based on the research questions depth and breadth, sometimes allowing for larger and more comprehensive studies. So academic research is very different than industry research, right? So if you are thinking of pursuing academic research, there is no harm in it. But I'm just saying that when you are used to doing academic research and then you decide that you want to work with industry and pursue industry focused research, you have to be flexible enough to change your mentality or change your mindset. Mindset is the right word. Change your mindset to be able to switch. So if your requirements, if your constraints change, you should be able to figure out a way to continue rather than abandon the project. Next is data accessibility and data type. I think I talked about a bit about this in the earlier video as well. But in industry-focused research, you may have access to proprietary data sources like customer database, internal performance metrics, or any other confidential data that as an academic researcher, you may not be able to get it. But because you're working for the industry and you have an agreement in place, some form of a non-disclosure agreement or something, the company would be allowing you to access their confidential data. And that is a benefit, because sometimes when you do not have the right data in academic context, you need to synthesize data or you have to compromise on your methodology somehow to work with the data that you have. Whereas in the industry-based research, that thing is completely flipped. You have the data that you need and you have to figure out the best way to make the maximum utilization of that data. Such data can provide rich insights, but also comes with strict governance, data governance, and privacy considerations. So as I mentioned in the earlier video as well, you may not be able to publish your findings that come out of your academic research, so of your industry research. So you have to be mindful of that. But there are also other ways in which what you can publish when you do industry-based research, and I'll be talking about that in the upcoming video. So keep an eye for that video as well. In academic research, we often rely on publicly available data sets, right? Academic databases or data collected through conducting surveys or interviews. So one of the steps that probably you can skip, or you may have the option to skip in industry-based research, is data collection, because the industry may have the data that you need. So you do not have to go and collect the data, but you can spend more time into analyzing and evaluating the data. There may be more emphasis on ensuring data sources are openly accessible or reproducible by other researchers. So this is different, right, compared to industry. In industry, the data source is confidential. You are working on confidential data, developing your models or your framework, your algorithms, whatever you're developing, getting the results for the company, and the company is going to use that research results. You are not going to publish them, or the company would not allow you to publish them for a set period of time. And this could be negotiated in the research agreement that you enter into with the company. But whereas in academic research, we would want to share the data that we have collected so that others can use that data set and run other models, develop other framework or something along those lines. Next thing is interdisciplinary approach. When you think about industry-based research, it is very interdisciplinary, cross-functional, because in real commercial practical problems that we are solving, we will get experts from various fields within the industry, within that company. For example, you can get experts from their business department, from engineering, from psychology, computer science, or whoever is working within that company with that specific skill sets. So when you work on an industry-based project, you will experience a very different environment or a very different approach to conducting research in comparison to what is being done, what we do as academic researchers. Industry-based research is also collaborative in nature and often involves teams with diverse skill sets but working together. And you will form product teams or service teams who are dedicated to work on a specific problem, and they would work together with you, right? So when you are thinking about how you are going to run the project, manage the project, what is the right or appropriate methodology, you have to consider these additional elements, right, which are typically not there in the academic research, because you will have other experts giving you advice, and sometimes as academics it is difficult to accept that somebody knows better than you because you are an expert in that field. But believe me, people from industry have very interesting ideas, and when you work with them you get a very different approach to looking at the same problem, rather if in comparison when you are just doing pure academic research. And what I have seen is whatever I have learned by working with the industry, I have applied in my academic research, and my academic research style has improved significantly. In academic research, we are often anchored within a specific discipline with collaborations and contributions primarily from academic within the academic boundaries, right? So we are not going out intentionally looking for an industry partner or getting feedback from them when we are doing our research. That we don't really do that, right? But ideally this is how it should be done. If you are if you're going to conduct a research, how good it would be that you have identified a problem. Maybe it is done through literature review, right? Typically in academia we do that. How about you actually go and talk to an industry partner, or maybe a few, saying that this is what I'm going to research on. The findings of this research may be useful for your organization. Would you give me your insights on this? And they will come up with something really interesting insights for you, feedback for you. And this is what something maybe academics will not think about, because we have a very different way of thinking, but or looking at a problem, whereas industry looks at the same problem in a very different way, from a very different perspective. So getting their inputs on when you're formulating a problem, I think that itself is very important and important aspect that you can incorporate within your academic research. Interdisciplinary academic research does occur, often leading to innovative fields of study, but it can be more formalized within academic structures. So nowadays what we see is universities are promoting interdisciplinary research. So they would ask, say, people or academics from business school to work with those in engineering, health, or humanities, or any other disciplines that you may have, because real practical problems are not discipline specific, right? Real problems need experts from different disciplines to come and work together to solve it. So in university setting, we are trying to imitate that and trying to build a environment or a space where different experts can come and talk and do work on a problem. But in industry, it is the norm, right? You are solving a problem. You pick up experts from different disciplines to make that problem, to solve the problem in the best possible way. Next is outcome measurement. In industry-based research, success is measured in terms of business outcomes. So, such as if you develop something, the outcome of your research, did it lead to increased revenue for the business, or did it reduce cost, or did it improve customer satisfaction, or did it help the product to enter the market at the first compared to other competitors, and so on. So these success measures can be very hard, and it is very easy to measure. So before your research, the revenue were X dollars. After your research, it could be 5x, 10x, or it could be 0.5x or 0.1x, So the visibility of the outcome is very much is very easily visible in industry-based research. Here, the emphasis is on measurable, tangible results that impact the bottom line of the companies or their strategic goals. And overall, anything that kind of comes out of the research, industry-based research, is driven by strategic goals. And many universities are now trying to follow a similar strategy where the university sets up their strategic research directions at the very top, and then that goes down to the department level or school level, where they have to try to align their research with those strategic research directions. And that way, universities are also becoming like experts in specific selected discipline areas. In academic research, you see the success is measured by contributions to knowledge, or where you have published your research paper, or how many grants you have secured, and so on, so forth. Another success measure that is being introduced these days, I have seen, is your engagement with industry and your research and its impact to society. So these are new measures that are coming up in academia. Here, traditionally the impact is measured using citations, academic awards, or influence on future research, or if you are getting a position in a advisory committee for a research grant, and so on and so forth. But impact, real commercial impact or real societal impact because of your research, is also a very strong success criteria. Next, let's talk about adaptability and iteration. In industry-based research, the need for rapid adaptability and iteration is very important because, like I said earlier on as well, the requirements for industry can change at any point. So you have to be adaptable to certain unexpected changes within the business environment. So a new regulation comes up and suddenly you have to change the direction of your research. What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that situation? So you have to be creative and smart and think in advance, think forward, that if something goes this, what is going to be your risk mitigation strategy? Sometimes the research methodology also needs to be tweaked because based on, say, preliminary market findings. So if the industry has engaged you to do initial research to kind of test the waters, right? And those preliminary findings come up with certain results. That results may inform your future research methodological choice. So you don't have to be kind of fixated on just one approach, that I'm going to do my research this way and only this way. That may not work, and that you need to be flexible and adaptable to meet these changing business priorities. And this is important for businesses because this helps them to remain competitive and responsive. A business environment is not stagnant. There are a lot of factors that are happening, things that are happening around in which the company is operating, conducting their business, right? There could be some environmental challenges or environmental regulations that may come up, which suddenly prioritizes the research or suddenly makes your research irrelevant. So you have to pivot. So things like that can happen. There are a lot of things that happen in the real world business environment, and you need to be flexible enough to adapt to those if they happen during the course of your industry research. Whereas in case of academia, see, the changes to research methodologies are not very often. So you have fixed up a research problem, you have fixed a decided research methodology, you want to follow that. But if you do need to change, that change happens or requires rigorous scrutiny. Maybe you have to present your research proposal again. You have to defend your research methodology again, and you may require a formal approval after you do that. So there is a difference in how research progresses from in industry versus in academia. Iterations are more common, are common, but might be more gradual. It is not very rapid and fast-paced iterations that you will see in industry-based research. Finally, I want to talk about collaborations and partnerships. In industry-based research, collaboration often extends beyond internal teams to include partnerships with other companies, customers, or industry consortia. And as the number of stakeholders increase, the way in which the research should be conducted can also change based upon the feedback and inputs that you get from these diverse stakeholders. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is challenging for the researchers to try to meet the expectations of everyone who is involved in that business. Partnerships can be crucial for assessing new technology markets or expertise, but may also involve complex agreements and IP considerations. So keep that in mind. So whenever collaborating with industry, IP is one very important angle. And I think I have covered that in my earlier videos, that having a clear IP strategy is very important, because it also can have some impact on the methods, on your methodological selections or choices. In academic research, collaboration often occurs within or between academic institutions, right? Or might include, and sometimes also include, partnerships with industry. But if that happens, we can consider that as industry research. But if we are considering as academic research, pure academic research, it happens within academic collaborators, right? And going into the future, more and more research should actually involve industry participation, because that brings in a new perspective to the problems, to research, and to the growth of knowledge. See, what happens is, in academia, we are often selecting problems based upon literature review, right? Reviewing the literature, what other researchers have identified as future work. We take that up and we continue to grow that field by addressing those research challenges. I think sometimes, in my opinion or in my experience, when I have spoken to industry, I have got some fantastic suggestions of what could be researched. And these ideas would not have come if I was not speaking with the industry or not getting them involved in the research that I'm doing. So keep this in mind, keep an open mind. Both industry research and academic research have their own merits. And it is something that we can learn from both sides, right? If you do academic research, you will learn something from industry research. If you're doing industry research, you can learn, you can apply that when you're doing your academic focused research. Okay, so that is all that I wanted to cover in this session. So other than that, I forgot this last slide, academic research, it heavily focuses on knowledge exchange and capacity building than on commercial outcomes. So whenever you are engaged in conducting academic research, do consider the practical application. Sometimes we are too much focused on academic output rather than the actual problem that we are trying to solve. So what I suggest is focus on the problem more than on the solution, because if you select the right problem, the solution will definitely help. But if you're choosing a wrong problem, which is of no value or limited value, no matter how good your solution, it will have a limited impact. So start thinking about research problem, and do check out my video that I have done on how to select a research problem, because that is, I feel, a very neglected area in academic research, where a heavy focus is on developing innovative solutions. But a lot of I have seen PhD scholars, they're selecting the amount of time that they spend on selecting a research problem is limited, right? And a heavy focus is on selecting the problem based on academic literature review. But that has to broaden, I feel. You have to be open to value research or knowledge outside of academic publications, because there is good amount of knowledge or valuable knowledge in industry, which on many occasions academic literature reviews do not cover. Okay, so that is all in today's session. Thank you very much. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, leave a comment, or follow me on any of my research, any of my social media platforms. And yeah, I'll come up with some interesting topics and videos for the next rest of the month. All right. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.